Hi, everyone. Welcome to Confabulous 2021 to our GLBT comic book characters panel, Hot Robin covers, and Loki. With me today is author Lyda Morehouse, an expert in the world of Marvel Comics. Yeah, why not?
Sure.
And the two of us are going to be talking about characters from both Marvel and DC who have come out of the closet. Some have been around for a long time, some are brand new. And I'm going to let Lyda introduce herself and talk about her favorite.
Oh, a favorite. Okay. Hi, I'm Lyda Morehouse. Let's see. Introduction. I've written science fiction and fantasy. I write fantasy, paranormal romance, straight paranormal romance under the pseudonym Tate Halloway. My queer stuff is actually under my given name, Lyda Morehouse. I've been reading Marvel Comics since I was knee high to a grasshopper. So I remember when North Star came out. You guys probably remember that sometime. So I don't know, a favorite though. A favorite. Gosh, I don't know that I have one. Except now I have Loki. Because
That's kind of what I meant.
Yeah. Loki's my favorite. Tell us about yourself, Jason.
Well, I have helped run Gay Lexicon when it's been in the Twin Cities. I'm also the chairperson, co-chair now for Console Room, the Twin Cities Doctor Who convention. I've also been reading comic books since I was knee-high to whatever. And I can remember actually the first not the first comic book I read, but the first comic book I collected was Captain Carrot and His Amazing Zoo Crew #5.
Wow.
Yes, I picked it up from a spinner rack at a convenience store in Duluth, Minnesota. And it's been comics ever since. And finally we've been seeing representation, but it's been in dribs and drabs, and now kind of the floodgates are opening a bit. And I think the main thing to remember as we go through this and you start looking into these characters and stuff is don't read the comments. Whatever you do, don't read the comments.
Homophobia is alive and well, everyone.
Oh goodness, especially among a lot of comic fans who, apparently can't handle that every comic book character is not now representative of themselves. So I will send a link into the YouTube chat that is kind of what we're going to be following along on here.
Yes, and supposed to remind people to let them know that they can also put their own comments in the YouTube chat.
So indeed. Thank you, Lyda.
You're welcome.
So since the title of the panel is Hot Robin Covers and Loki, when we first talk about this character is not gay, although many readers probably wish he was. This is Jason Todd, who will be one of the variant covers for Robin's #1. It's basically essentially they have beefcake covers of Dick Grayson, Jason Todd, Tim Drake, and then I guess it's probably the most tame of the covers. Stephanie Brown is also represented, but this is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Jason is such a bad boy here. Look at all those cuts and scars.
Yes.
I should have put up the Dick Grayson one as well, but it's a little vanilla. So, and so speaking of Robin, one of the Robins did recently come out in the comic book is called Urban Legends, Gotham Urban Legends, I think, or Dark Knight Urban. Oh, it's Batman Urban Legends. In it's an anthology title covering various characters in the Batman family, and in a 3-part story, Tim Drake is struggling with his identity as, is he still Robin? Who is he? And a character that was around in the Robin series, whose name, of course, I'm forgetting now. Might bring up the comic real quick digitally. a character that he knew of from back in the Robin series, who actually apparently had a crush on Tim Drake's mom, which gets a little weird. Now has a crush on Tim Drake, and they're going to go out on a date, and it's really cute. It's a cute story. They don't there's no action per se, but it's just a nice little meet cute story.
Does this take place in a car, this scene? Like, okay, what I'm trying to do is distinguish in my mind between things I have seen on Tumblr that might be fan art and things that are probably actual comic strips.
The actually asking out on a date occurs at the boys' front door.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Not during a stakeout. That was some fan produced thing. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. Well, he during a stakeout, Tim is talking to Stephanie, who is pretty much just like, "Oh, come out already."
Okay, maybe I did see some of this then flying around Tumblr. Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find his name, the character's name, but of course I'm not at the moment. And then he also meets a police detective who I think is also gay in it, who is not Maggie Sawyer. Bernard, that's the name of the character, Bernard. And they just say, let's see, and the final page, Tim Drake is standing on the porch, and Bernard says, "Tim Drake, do you want to go on a date with me?" And Tim responds, yeah, I think I want that. It's just,
aww.
Yeah, so cute.
Very cute.
All right. I'm going to toss it over to you to talk about somebody now.
Okay, well, I guess I should talk about the Loki TV series, which I watched. I mean, it's did it first come out this year? I'm not exactly sure when exactly it first came out. It's unfortunately only on Disney Plus right now, I think. I watched the whole thing in like a giant gulping binge, which is not my normal way of watching shows because it was super fun. And in it, there's a tiny little scene in which Loki comes out as bisexual, which is, for Marvel comic readers, I feel like this is like, wow, thanks for this tiny bone you've thrown us. Because, I mean, of all of the Marvel characters in the history of ever, Loki is probably the queerest from the beginning of time. I mean, and I am intentionally using the word queer because Loki was canonically in the comic books, has always been genderqueer. He's always been able to shift between male and female, and he does it well. And in the comic books, they've always recognized his mythological children, which they never did in the movies. Made me very sad when we see Fenrir, the giant wolf, right? I never say these names right, and I apologize in advance for my lack of Norwegian. But we see the giant wolf, and who is canonically Loki's child, right? As he gave birth to her, or him, I should say. He gave birth to him. And it's never acknowledged in the Marvel movies. It makes me really sad because I'm like, I feel like in the comics we know this. We also know that, he got it on with a stallion as a mare and all sorts of things. So I mean, come on, Loki's about the panest, queerest character. I mean, and what's weird is that we knew all this stuff back in the 70s when I was reading too. I mean, I knew that Loki could become what we used to call Lady Loki, but nowadays would just call Loki, in either gender. So that's my feelings about Loki. But it was a nice moment. I was happy to see, as queer as it was, as Loki, the TV show, to be as queer as it was, which was moderately queer. I could have used a little queerness. It was kind of, I did have, I was going to give you some spoilers. I won't give spoilers. No spoilers since people haven't seen it yet. But I will say that whatever you feel about the ending, in terms of like the romancy bits, it is technically the most homo of all homo things in the history of all homo. So, so there's at least that.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
You know what I'm saying without saying it? Only Loki would fall in love with something so exactly like himself. Let's put it that way. Indeed. So that's my take on that. But other than that, I don't know. The whole show was just a lot of fun. So I ate it up. I don't know how queer it was really. I shipped all the wrong people, like a lot of fans. So.
I was gonna say something earlier about, is this really all the fan fiction becoming text, subtext becoming text and everything? But I guess it depends on who you've shipped and such. So
Yes, indeed.
I'm going to jump to kind of the other big one that kind of caused a huge kerfuffle on the internet. I mean, not huge. It blew over so fast, but I know it hit Fox News, and that was Captain America. Captain America comes out. Of course, it wasn't actually Steve Rogers, although, we all certainly.
Speaking of shipping, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Although, really, which Captain America did people ship? Because, I don't know if you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier too, but there were a couple of scenes in Falcon and Winter Soldier where it's like, oh, just kiss already.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. In the psychologist's office, I was like, come on. Making the kissy faces.
There was at one point when they were like tied together or something.
Oh,
yes.
But Marvel, you only give us subtext usually. So I'm glad an actual Captain America came out. That's good.
Yes. So in this Captain America, so there was a series, a mini series called The United States of Captain America. And what it was a series of stories where Steve, Bucky, and I want to say, what's his name, who became Captain America briefly in this TV series and eventually became U.S. agent.
Who I think of as Super Patriot. John, what is his last name? I'm not going to remember right now, but yeah.
They go on a road trip to try and find the spirit of America or something like that. And they meet a number of people who become Captain America, kind of like what happened with Superman when Superman died and you had all these people who became Superman. And
John Walker, that's his name. Sorry.
John Walker, yes. One of the Captains America.
Yes, Captains America.
is gay teenager Aaron Fisher, the Captain America of the railways, described in a release as a fearless teen who stepped up to protect fellow runaways and the unhoused. It was written by Joshua Trujillo, and the character was designed by trans artist Jan Bazaldua. And I haven't actually read it, but I really need to get a copy of it and read it. I don't really collect physical comics anymore, but I should make a point of buying the ones that have the gay characters, especially things like this, to kind of say, yeah, this is what we want. But it's from what I understood, this story is a fun little story. It's kind of tough because it doesn't pull any punches with the idea of runaways and the unhoused.
Excellent.
I'll let you go again now.
Oh my gosh. I was afraid you were going to say that to me. Because what often happens to me with Marvel is that I have to talk instead about the things that they failed to do. That were, for instance, in the comic books. So we all love the Black Panther movie. And his honor guard it was very clear that Black Panther was based on Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther, which I loved, partly because there's a lesbian subplot in it. The honor guard, whose names I can never pronounce, whatever. There's a strong lesbian couple in the comic book that doesn't make it into the movie, and it made me very sad. But everybody always had the argument that I always get when I say, well, they were taking a huge risk with Black Panther, why not just go for it? People always say, well, how would it play in China? So I guess we always have to blame China for the fact that I never get gay characters in my Marvel movies. But there you go. Black Panther, if you want to read Ta-Nehisi Coates' Black Panther stuff. It's also, if you haven't read it, it's an amazing series too. So
I do know that the Killmonger character, that storyline, started back in the 70s, I guess,
Mhm.
um, with the story Panther's Rage. Also a good story. It is, however, written by a white guy, but it's also a good story with potentially a gay couple, although they're kind of played for comedy.
Wow. It was the 70s, you know.
It was the 70s indeed. Um, and it's funny you mentioned China because I know that I'm not sure if it's Hong Kong or Taiwan, which maybe doesn't count per se, but so much gay movies, TV shows, or I don't know what the genre is called, but there's tons of gay romance
Are we
stuff
talking
that,
about are you talking about Chinese TV right now?
yeah.
Yes, I know. In fact, that was one of the, if we got off of Marvel and DC, I was going to bring up a couple of things that I'm watching that are Chinese TV. Yeah, but to be fair, some of the popular ones have to slide past the censors. Like the one
Okay.
I'm watching is called Untamed in English.
Okay.
It's based on a very explicitly boys love light novel / manhwa, which is the Chinese version of a manga, and which has a bunch of other names. But yeah, no, that it's I know it's weird right now, but at the same time, there's this tension because if the characters, well, I don't know enough about it. That has to be its own separate panel.
Sure.
I've only like dipped my toes into the whole Weiji or whatever that's called subgenre of that's sort of, it's the fantasy Imperial China stuff. There's a lot of that. Pretty wigs, pretty men. Not gonna
We'll
lie.
have to remember that for the next Gay Lexicon.
Oh, I'd have, yeah, and then you could get Lois McMaster Bujold to come because she's deeply, deeply into Untamed. So,
Don, are you taking notes on this?
yeah, take notes, Don.
All right. So since they were on screen, but and I mean it really. I mean this wasn't this year, but I think we're going to get a Young Avengers series soon, and we saw Billy and Tommy in WandaVision, aging up into young preteens. And, I think eventually we're going to see Young Avengers. And I fully expect that Billy is going to be in a couple with Hulkling at that point. I mean, they came out years ago. And I think they got married this year in the comics. I'm pretty sure Billy and Wiccan and Hulkling.
Oh, Wiccan. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Wiccan and Hulkling, and then Tommy Speed. He is now dating fellow bi hero Prodigy. I don't know Prodigy. Yeah, I know.
I'm out of
There's so many we can't keep
stuff.
track anymore.
Thank God.
Exactly. But yeah, I do. Everyone is talking about how, especially with the Hawkeye series coming out and having I don't remember the name of her character. Cassie, what's that?
Are we talking about the other Hawkeye?
Yeah, the other Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Is she just called Hawkeye as well?
She's just called Hawkeye.
Okay.
At least she was in the Fraction comics. She was just Hawkeye.
Okay. So yeah, with adding all these characters, and I think possibly the character that was shown in Falcon and Winter Soldier, the grandson of why can I not remember these names? The grandson of the Black Captain America before Falcon is going to be the young Captain America from Young Avengers, whose name I'm also forgetting as well. Patriot? No, Bucky. Actually, I think initially he was called Bucky, and then they're like, that's bad optics. We're going to call him something else. So anyway, have you seen Eternals yet?
No, I haven't.
Because I know that is perhaps the queerest of the Marvel properties at the moment.
Yeah.
Where
and it's doing badly as far as I can tell.
Well,
Which is
it sounds like, the character, the gay character Fastos, played by Brian Tyree Henry, yum, um, is they actually have a kiss on screen. He and his husband. So
nice.
yeah, and it's for something that is eventually probably going to be on Disney Plus. That's pretty groundbreaking. Have you read much
Yeah,
Eternals?
I'll have to wait. I actually know what was weird is that okay, so I've been a comic book reader since forever, but it's almost impossible to keep with all the titles. And I had to go look up to see who was even in the Eternals. So I feel kind of out of it in this case. Feel bad. I should go see it, or at least I've been trying to I caught up with WandaVision and all the rest of the stuff. So I've been trying to stay on top of all at least the Marvel properties.
Yeah, it's especially hard now when everyone's still about go to the movie theater. What are you saying?
I know, I'm still like that. I'm sorry. That's why my hair is so long.
I've heard from friends who aren't huge mega hit Marvel aficionados that they love the movie. I've heard from people who are like big Marvel fans that they're like, oh, this is different. I don't like it. So I feel like I'm kind of middle of the road. So we'll see.
Okay.
And I've read the Jack Kirby stuff, and it's weird. It's very weird. I also read the Neil Gaiman, and I don't think it made a lot of sense. But
I'm just gonna have to sit on my hands and not say anything about Neil Gaiman. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Interesting. Okay.
Although speaking of, early queer, at least genderqueer stuff, I always loved Desire from his Sandman series.
Oh, absolutely.
It's, very obviously shiftable.
Yeah.
Like Desire is.
Indeed. Let's see. I feel that leads us into, do you want to talk about Kate Pride?
No.
No.
No, I'm not reading this stuff. I feel bad. No, although I told you before we got started, I'm not surprised at all that Kitty Pryde is becoming out. As a lesbian, or at least bi. Back in my day, it was clear that she had a thing for Wolverine. But it was kind of a platonic thing. So, and
yeah, it always felt very mentor-esque. She canonically, she's always been kind of paired with Colossus.
Oh yes, no, of course.
Yeah. Although in the Ultimate Universe, was Colossus in a relationship with Wolverine, I think.
Oh wow. Jeez,
I think so.
I need to catch up if that's the case. That sounds pretty hot.
Gives a whole new meaning to a fastball special.
Oh, no kidding. No, we just outed ourselves as very old readers.
Indeed. Yeah, this is definitely a new thing, and I think people are again, don't read the comments, I guess, but she she appeared in X-Men Days of Future Past, played by Elliot Page, and now she's and we'll see where it goes. And she's probably the highest profile X-Man to be queer after now Iceman, which I'm not sure what they're doing with Iceman these days. I don't think they put him back in the closet, so that's good.
Well, that is good. So who did Bobby Drake end up with? Who was he dating?
A non-superhero, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah. Which, I know, like, I haven't read these. I'm reading Marvel in order, and I'm only up to 1982 right now.
Oh, wow.
So I haven't read any of the House of X stuff. And I know that all the mutants now live on Krakoa, and all the dead ones get resurrected. Like, they actually have a mechanism to resurrect dead mutants and everything, which is apparently that's what happened with Kitty Pryde, because she was dead and they brought her back, and they have a queue of people that they're bringing back one by one and everything. but I'm pretty sure that only mutants are allowed to live on Krakoa.
Yeah.
So if you have a mutant who is in a relationship with a non-mutant, are they not allowed to bring their spouse? I don't know. Who knows? I know that you wanted to talk about the big DC news.
Superboy.
Superman.
Superman. Excuse me, Superman. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, just not Clark Kent, which of course is, again, what Fox News was like. They made Superman. No, they didn't make Superman gay. They made the new Superman gay.
Yes.
Clark is still with Lois. They're still a thing. And this is Clark and Lois's son, Jonathan Kent.
Oh, he named him after his dad. That's nice.
I know. Isn't that sweet?
Mm-hmm. How did this even happen? How did they have children? He's from another planet. I'm still kind of stuck on that. But that's okay. We'll let that go.
I assume that maybe red sun rays or something had something to do with it, or some different color of kryptonite.
Yeah. That's all it takes.
Indeed. But John Kent is now, or at least in a comic, is involved with a reporter, just like the old man, Jay Nakamura.
They've got a thing for reporters. So it doesn't matter. It's not gender. It's about a job occupation.
Indeed.
And there's so few reporters left, so this is pretty hot.
And this reporter has lavender hair.
Nice.
Jay Nakamura. And they actually lock lips in, I think it's Son of Kal-El 5 is the issue where it happens.
Nice.
So that is on my pull list at, I'm going to give a shout out to a local comic and game store, Rockhopper Games, which is queer owned and operated, and it's in Golden Valley. And I basically have told the owner to put on my pull list anything that has gay characters.
Nice. So now you have a huge pile you'll have to read.
Yeah. I need a bigger house, apparently.
Ironically, all my comics are in my closet, so they can't come out. Teasing. But they are in my closet.
Yeah. The two have their first kiss in the book's 5th issue out on November 9th. So next week.
Excellent.
Go to your local comic book store and buy Son of Kal-El number 5 to see
the big kiss.
The big kiss.
Yes.
All right. We're about halfway through. You have so many more to talk about right now, don't you?
Oh, so many more. Not really. But I do have a list of other things that I've been reading, and I could talk about that. But this would leave you very much in the dust, as what they would all be is manga and whatnot. So, which is a lot of what I've been reading lately.
That's fair. It's comic books. We'll just go through a quick rundown. Most of these are ones that I have not read or watched.
Okay.
Apparently in The Flash, in Future State, there's a non-binary version of The Flash. Jess Chambers debuted as Kid Quick, part of an alternate universe version of the Teen Titans. Let's see, their universe, Earth 11, is not that different from the DC universe we know, except genders are reversed, with heroes like Wondrous Man and Aquawoman. Then this same new NBC News article mentions Batwoman, although I don't think that's
not news.
That's although apparently the actress who took over is also bisexual.
Oh, that's nice.
Maybe news. The Alan Scott Green Lantern happened quite a while ago, but apparently he came out to his children this year. His children, Jade and Obsidian. Obsidian has also been gay. And apparently there is an HBO Max Green Lantern series coming out where British actor Jeremy Irvine will be playing Alan Scott. There is a transgender character, Nia Nal, who is on Supergirl, played by trans actress Nicole Maines. With that name and the powers and everything that's listed, I'm guessing, and her character name is Dreamer, and I'm guessing she's a member of the Legion of Superheroes.
I love the Legion of Superheroes.
What else? We talked about Captain America and Loki, Fastos. Sprite, also from the Eternals, is gender fluid. The gender of the character in the movie is not clear. Let's see. Okay, that's what we talked about in here. I have another article, which is 10 LGBTQ plus Marvel characters who deserve a solo series.
Okay, let's hear those. Maybe I'll have something to say about those guys.
Number 10, Julie Power, Lightspeed. So she was a member of Power Pack, the kid superhero group. And there's like two different lines of Power Pack comics. Well, I shouldn't say two lines of Power Pack comics. There's Power Pack comics, which are kid friendly and they're still kids and stuff. Not that they couldn't be gay in a kid friendly comic, because that seems to be where a lot of stuff these days, like Steven Universe and Owl House and stuff like that, is happening. But they're very non-sexualized. But in other comics, and in this case, it was, I believe it happened in Runaways, Julie Power
I read Runaways, yeah.
was bisexual. And she's currently dating Ricky Barnes, which is a Counter-Earth granddaughter of Bucky Barnes.
Okay.
Tommy Shepard Speed, one of Wanda's kids. Moondragon. Apparently Moondragon is bisexual and is dating a member, dating Phyla Vel, which has got to be a Cree with that name. Xian Koiman, Karma. Karma has been out, I think, for a while, but she's never been in a romantic relationship, and she's kind of underused these days, I feel. I've never heard of this character, Sarah, S-E-R-A. Sarah is one of Marvel's most prominent trans characters. She's a sorceress who was Angela's longtime partner and eventual wife. I wonder if Angela was mentioned earlier in the article or something. Currently with the Ravagers. Miguel Santos, Lightning. Do you know who Lightning is?
I feel really out of this. No.
Apparently he was a member of the Avengers for a little while.
Okay. Probably when I was reading, let me guess, from sometime in the 1990s when I was in college.
I'm guessing the 2000s.
2000s, okay.
Yeah, looking at the images that they're showing, this looks like 2000s. Nico Minoru, you know who Nico Minoru is, right? She was in Runaways as well. She was the witch character in Runaways.
Okay.
Raz Malhotra, Giant Man. One of the member of Agents of Atlas. Carolina Dean, another runaway. Who is
pretty queer.
In a relationship with Zavin, who was a Super Skrull. So yeah, that's that list.
Wow. And now I feel like I need to read a hell of a lot more comics. I was here to talk about how hot Loki is.
Go ahead, talk about how hot Loki is.
I'm kind of done with that, though. I mean, how many times do you have to say it?
Are you talking about Tom Hiddleston? Are you talking
yes, about... also and too.
And what's her name?
I don't know. I barely paid attention than anybody else was on the screen. I'm sorry.
We have a question
Oh,
from Amber. This may be a loaded question. Apologies. It sounds like there's been many more LGBTQ plus characters in comic books lately, which is wonderful. That's not a question, Amber.
yeah, it's a statement, and it's not even loaded. I think the answer is yes. Maybe it's loaded because the question is, why weren't there more previously?
Yeah.
I think, and we were talking about this a little bit ahead of time, a lot of the stuff that I remember when I was younger was queer coded, like so much stuff used to be. Like the X-Men in the early days, I'm talking about when Chris Claremont was writing, so not really early days, like the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of stuff that you just had to imply, like there was a specific disease during the AIDS crisis, real life AIDS crisis, that was attacking the fictional X-Men and only mutants. And it was a way in which sometimes mutants ended up coming out as mutants, is that they would get this disease. And it was really obvious. The metaphor of being sort of outed, et cetera, was, oh, it looks like we have more from Amber. I see. Oh, that's why there was more to this. So let's read the rest of this. But I was just saying that previously, a lot of it was just sort of, we had to guess who was gay, who wasn't gay. I love there's so much more GLBT representation in comics, but do you think that they are doing a good job of portraying GLBT characters? That's an interesting question. I think of Loki in the show where there was this sort of a nod to being at least bisexual, but they kind of left it there, and the main relationship was also to be received as much more or less straight. Okay. I mean, that was my joke. That was my joke about how homo it is, because in many ways, Loki falls for a version of himself. But I do agree with you. That, and I don't have a good answer to this, because I feel in particular that Marvel has failed at being gay a lot. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, DC comic books maybe are having a better time of it. Jason, you can talk about like your sense of how it's been being written in comics, but like I absolutely agree with Amber that the Loki TV show was not nearly as queer as it ought to be, given who Loki is. I would have liked him to be a lot more obviously and explicitly bisexual, because it is one thing to say you are and then to never see anything on stage. You know, it would just be nice. That's why I kind of wanted, at the very least, that Marvel might acknowledge that he's gender fluid, or Loki uses the he pronoun, so that he's gender fluid, because he is. I mean, he can change, and I wish Marvel would do that. It drives me a little nuts. I mean, they skirt around the edges of all this stuff, and I agree with you, Amber. I don't think they do a great job. I would have liked a lot more explicit queerness specifically from Marvel. And, I think the problem I'm having is that they're so good about so many things. Like, they said to themselves, I know, let's make a Guardian of the Galaxies movie and we'll have a talking raccoon and everybody will roll with it. And everybody did. Rocket is great. But like, God forbid they let anybody in Black Panther be gay, even though in the comic books that they're drawing from, they were. So I don't know. Similarly, despite all the ship tease and sort of queer coding that we get with Sam and Bucky, we don't get anything explicit at all. Likewise, I feel like there was a lot of ship tease and teasing around of queer baiting, if you even will, in a lot of the Marvel movies, where it seemed like they were going to go somewhere with Tony and Steve, or Steve and Bucky, and they just sort of let it like sit there for the fans without ever being explicit. But that's my big rant. So I did talk some, Jason. Now you can talk about, what do you think? Do you think that...
Well, even with characters that weren't, their marquee characters, Iron Man, Captain America, Valkyrie was supposed to be...
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And that Valkyrie was completely left aside, In fact, it felt like they did almost try and put a little bit of a romance spin with Valkyrie, was it Thor or was it Hulk? Bruce? Hulk. Yeah.
Bruce. I felt like this is the thing that I think happens a lot, where they basically spray no homo on these things, so that You know, you can have Loki say he's bisexual, but then you pair him up canonically with a female version of whatever. I mean, it's still a very queer story to me, but it is disappointing given that he had lots of variants he could have fallen for.
I mean, where is the Loki alligator Loki shipping? You know, come on.
I'm for it. I'm all for it. I have headcanon about why there's an alligator Loki, but I'm not even going to go into that because it's too weird. I actually really loved Golden Age or Silver Age Loki. He was one of my favorite characters. I would.
Oh, well, I mean, you have him played by you know, I know all these names completely until you put me on in front of
the camera. As soon as the camera comes on, it's all gone from your head. I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, the actor who played Silver Age Loki was brilliant, of course.
Absolutely.
Shoot, why can't I think of his name? He even played the Doctor briefly. Anyway, we have a comment from Larry. Do you find that there are a lot more female LGBTQIA plus characters than male? Is lesbianism a much more accepted form of queer representation than male-male relationships? One example being the explicitly gay character in HBO's Doom Patrol being a contactless, relationshipless person wrapped in bandages. Also, the name of the actor who played Silver Age Loki was Richard E. Grant.
That's an interesting question. Do you have feelings about this, Jason? I mean, I feel it's sometimes actually difficult for me to find lesbian representation, but I do feel like in some ways, just in general in science fiction and fantasy, we tend to see in TV a lot more lesbians than we see gay men. Or at least the implication of that. Go ahead.
I feel like the sad comment is that it's easier to put lesbians in comics than gay men in comics, because the perceived readership of comics is men who are more accepting of lesbian characters than of gay characters, but not for any good reason.
Right. No, it's all male gaze stuff. Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Like the gay men characters coming out definitely get more press, but maybe that's because there are fewer of them. So,
well, what did you think about, to go back to Amber's point and maybe dovetail it into Larry's? What do you think about how you haven't had a chance to read Son of Kal-El yet, but you've read some of the other portrayals of gay comic book characters coming out? Did you feel like it was gay? Did it feel, I mean, like true to your gay experience, or did you feel like it was plastered on? Kind of like the Loki stuff. The Loki stuff to me, and this is why I agree with Amber, felt a little bit like they're like, finally, they've been pushed by fandom to have Loki come out in some way, that they finally just like, okay, he can, and he barely admits he's bisexual. It's just that, you know, the other variant says to him, so any princesses in your life? Princes? And he just kind of like, he just sort of nods like, whatever. And he doesn't even say, yeah, I would go for both, but it's implied. And that's just sort of sad given, you know, given everything. So in comic books, you're getting more explicit stuff. And does it feel queer? I mean, because that's one of the things I could talk about reading a lot of yaoi, is that a lot of it is written by women for women. And so the queer content is often actually heteronormative. It really is. You know, there's very clearly gender roles that are just being played out by two men. And so I'm wondering if that's true in your experience with what you've read of gay characters in comic books.
Well,
gay male characters.
A lot of the gay male characters, it kind of reminds me of back when I watched One Life to Live one summer when Ryan Phillippe was on the show, and he came out as a gay teenager, but it was like, you know, he came out to his family as being gay, and it caused a big controversy in the town, but he never had a boyfriend. You know, he was never gay other than, I mean, he might as well have been like, I don't know, autistic or something, for all that yeah, it was actually almost more of a story crutch to have a kind of a witch hunt regarding the minister in town, who was friends with him and stuff. And I think of like when North Star came out, you asked, has it been similar to my I don't remember if you said gay experience or coming out experience, and
whichever you want to talk about.
I flashed on the North Star coming out, and that feels a bit more dramatic, although mine was kind of tearful as well, I guess. But yeah, I remember, I can picture the North Star coming out scene in my mind, where he's yelling at the guy he's fighting, saying, "While I do not normally discuss my social life, I am gay."
Yes. That's pretty much how I came out. It was in the middle of a battle,
Yeah, exactly. As one does. As
one does, exactly. I was thinking about in general too, queer coding. I'm always kind of surprised that Peter Parker hasn't come out. Like I was thinking about scenes that read as gay, that are gayer than some of the scenes that are supposedly like Loki's scene in Loki, where he's just sort of like, princess, prince, whatever. Like there's a scene in it might have been one of the Michael Straczynski Spider-Man runs, where like Aunt May figures out that he's gay, and she talks like about what was in his closet, and I'm like waiting for her to say something like, "And I found that chiffon," but instead she found his costume, and I was like, "Oh, right, of course." It felt so much more like and I had that feeling in my gut when she's coming up to him saying, "I found something in your closet." I was like, "Oh, I've had this conversation." What did you find, Aunt May? It felt way queerer to me in some ways than I don't know. I haven't read These Kisses yet, or any of the stuff with Robins, but I'd be curious to know how gay they really feel, or if it's just, this is one of those things that surprises me too, how far behind. Comic books seem to lag pretty far behind the mainstream science fiction stuff, right? We've had queer representation to the point now where like people are like, "Where's my ace representation?" We're kind of, we want to get into the IA plus. Where's my intersex characters? Where's my trans characters? And comic books were still like, "Oh, thank God, there was an on-screen kiss." and yet North Star's been around since forever. It's a weird. Or whoever. You can pick any other character too, but like that's one I always think of as being a really early groundbreaker that then sort of disappeared. And they didn't ever do that much with him. And I don't know. I don't have a point to where I'm going, except to say that I think one of the things that frustrates me is that as these things become TV shows and movies, I feel like we're getting a little backwards slide to like the refusal to acknowledge just how gay Loki is, or how queer he is. That's probably a better term. How queer he is, and I wonder if it's this, because I feel like at the same time in the comic books there was a lot more that was happening with. I didn't read all of Loki, Agent of whatever chaos. I think it was Shield, but it sounds like they were doing more with him in the comic books. And I feel like there was a gay character or gay parents in Ms. Marvel, one of the Ms. Marvels, but that's neither here nor there.
Anyway. That's the new Ms. Marvel series?
Yes, as in the new Ms. Marvel, as in Kamala Khan.
Yeah, which I haven't read, and I really.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah. Have you been reading Squirrel Girl?
I've picked up a random issue of Squirrel Girl here and there, but I haven't actually read it. I want to touch on, you talk about queer coding and how the X-Men were definitely queer coded, but arguably every superhero is queer coded as having a secret identity, and having to deal with keeping. They're all in the closet. Yeah. Every superhero, except I guess for the Fantastic Four, is in the closet. Spider-Man, he's always wrestling with that dual identity. He tries to have a dating life, but he can't let the people he's dating know why he's disappearing when they're out on a date. And man, that is so lucky that every time you're out on a date, a supervillain attacks, gosh, you know, these are the ones who need to be ace, you know, the superhero.
For real. Larry's got another question for us. I'll read this one. So I'm trying to figure out how North Star's coming out scene would play if done a live action on TV in a movie. Would it be laughable? To be kind, how was that acceptable in a comic? Oh, come on, Larry, you know the answer to this. Comic books are full of melodrama, and that's why we love them. That's you know, a lot of people hated the first Thor movie because it's so over the top melodramatic, and I was just like the whole time screaming, it's a comic book come to life. I love every moment out of it. So I mean, that's, yes, of course it's laughable. It would be laughable in TV, unless apparently directed by Kenneth Branagh. And then I would like it and everybody else would hate it.
Has North Star appeared in anything, in like one of the background? No, I don't think so. No. Yeah, give us our Alpha Flight movie. I want an Alpha Flight.
Although they kind of screwed it up because it depends on, I mean, if the Paramount stuff counts as Marvel movies, right? Because we had an introduction to Sabretooth already. And
that's right.
Yeah. So I don't know what they would do with that. In fact, I'll never forget sitting there in the theater with my wife, who doesn't look like a comic book nerd, but has some favorites, and one of whom is Wolverine. So we were sitting there watching an early X-Men film, and I don't remember where Sabretooth was introduced, but she's like, I'm sorry, how does Wolverine not recognize him from Alpha Flight? Like, I don't know, honey. Anyway.
Amber has a comment. I agree, Lida. Hearing both of you discuss the comics, it sounds like the comic books are more inclusive. I don't think I've seen a lot of that inclusivity across multiple identities on screen. And
I agree.
I guess I would say that, especially now, comic books are considered almost kind of niche compared to the movies and the TV shows. Everyone's watching the movies. Everyone's watching the TV shows. The comic books are read by more and more diehard fans. Yeah. And, in some ways, nerds are more accepting, except the really loudmouth ones are not accepting. So that's, I do know I have a number of friends who now troll troll comment sections. So, that's they gay comment.
Gay? I mean, do they troll them as like the gay brigade?
Yeah, exactly.
That's
troll
cool.
them as in like I forget, what, like there's a YouTuber who goes as gay comic nerd or gay comic geek, and he'll go on to various Facebook threads that have really rancid comments sections and troll them and be gay as hell. So.
Yeah, and I feel like, I'm sorry. So your favorite comic book is whatever. It doesn't even matter. Like skin tight outfits for men. What are you looking at? What are you looking at?
Indeed.
I'm reading it for the articles.
Nightwing's ass. That's what they're looking at.
Yeah.
I should probably.
They managed to get that line into the Marvel movies about Captain America, America's ass. So
indeed. Alpha Flight did appear on the TV X-Men in the 90s when they sought to capture and take back Wolverine. He and his sister appeared briefly right after slapping hands. So they were the Wonder Twins of the X-Men animated series.
Oh, which I didn't ever watch, and I feel stupid for that. Sounds like it was a really good animated series.
It's on Disney Plus.
Oh, really? I could catch up.
Yep.
I was trying to think of, speaking of Disney Plus, if there were any what ifs that were particularly gay, and there weren't.
Not really.
Which is
that would have been a perfect place to even have it. But maybe next season, I guess.
Maybe.
And then let's see. Why don't you just talk real quick about some of the manga that you've been reading that you can recommend to people who, if you like the queer stuff in the comics, you might like these manga.
Oh God. Okay. Well, I'm not ready for that. I literally went down my list of what I'm reading right now, or what I have recently read. I actually went on a spate. There is There is I have a tendency to read gay men stuff, which is what's called yaoi, but I've been reading Yuri a lot too this year, and so I have a really cute one to recommend. So do you want to go out? Or it's a adorable little super lesbian story about two girls who fall in love in college. And if you're interested in stuff that has TV and reading bits, you could read Given, which is if you like rock bands and gay men, it's a great combo right there. And then there's some that are just so cheesy. But there was a really interesting one that I read this year, which was called Sexuality is Life. And it was actually a autobiography, which you don't get a lot of in manga, about a guy who used to work as a rent boy in Japan. And it's super fascinating, and it's online and you can find it, and it's lovely.
What's that one called?
That one's called, well, okay, so I'll type it into the chat, this chat, but that's not going to help there. It's called, okay, my Japanese is terrible, but in Japanese it's gay, G-A-Y, and it's Fukosu no Mochigi. Mochigi is the author. So you could Google Mochigi, but in English it translates to Sexuality is Life or something like that. I highly recommend it. It's really interesting.
Mochigi?
Mochigi. Mochigi is the author. And that was his rent boy name. And that's what he is using as his pen name. So
the author. So this is like he's kind of writing about his life.
He's writing specifically about his time as a rent boy in Japan, and it's super fascinating. It's because it's autobiography, he doesn't get into, at least not up to the point where I've read, he didn't get into anything that was sort of dark or scandalous, but it's his story. He gets to tell what he wants. So
this is not any way comic book related, but have you seen the Japanese movie Funeral Parade of Roses?
No.
It is
writing it down. Funeral Parade of Roses.
Funeral Parade of Roses. It's part of the kind of the Japanese new wave of films in the 60s. Okay. And it is about rent boys, specifically rent boys in drag. Okay. And it's really good. I saw it at the Trilon, and I cannot recommend it highly enough.
I wrote it down. I will definitely go check it out.
Yeah, and if you send me your list, I'll get it posted.
Absolutely, I will do that.
Yeah. So coming up today, still we have let's see. How did you get your gaming fix during the pandemic at 3 p.m. Central Time? What's queer and good in new TV series at 4:30 p.m. Central Time? Ask a DM level up time at 7 p.m. Central Time. And an expanded universe after all, which is about the Star Wars universe, at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And if you join the Discord server, we have people doing gaming on Board Game Arena and various things. And
Thirsty Sword Lesbians.
Thirsty Sword Lesbians is going to be run by John Till. I don't know if there's still openings for that, but that is at 8 p.m. And I know Lyda is playing.
Yes, I can't wait.
If you are interested, get in the Discord, let John know, and join the fun. Like and subscribe to our channel here. Tell all your friends, and thank you everyone for participating in our hot Robin covers and Loki panel today. Thank you.
Lyda doesn't remember anything about Marvel panel.
All right, thanks.